我是从美国来的，我为了学中文，在师大来到台北，去年的8月底，然后一个我的父母的朋友的朋友认识了陈牧师，所以我来到之后，我来到这里，跟 Peter 说话，然后我参加了双联教会。I was blessed to grow up in a Christian household. Both of my parents were saved, so they raised me in a Christian setting.
他生长在一个基督教的家庭。
As soon as I was old enough to understand, they explained the Bible to me and who Jesus was and who God was and what it meant. And when I understood, I said I wanted to do that. So my mother prayed with me, and I accepted Jesus when I was very young.
OK， 他说他开始懂事的时候，他父母就开始跟他说耶稣是谁，上帝是谁，然后跟他解释。然后呢，他就在那个时候决定他相信耶稣，所以他妈妈就为了他来祷告。
And for me, it was an addiction of the best kind. As soon as I met God, I just wanted to know Him more and better. So every day, in the morning, first thing when I got up, and also in the evening, right before I would go to bed, I would always spend time alone in my closet, just reading the Bible and praying and singing to God.
哇，他都讲好长那个字 addiction 啊，常常我们是用在毒品，我们对毒品都有毒瘾，都会一直要吃。可是他的这个是跟上帝亲近，然后他说他自从认识了上帝以后，他无时无刻都想要跟上帝接近，然后都会自己一直在念圣经。
And at that time, I was reading through a devotional book, kind of like Our Time Alone with God, and I wanted to talk about one of the lessons in that.
对，他那个时候有读到一本书，然后他要跟你们分享他其中念到。
The other thing you have to know about me is that I am a soccer player. I'm an athlete, so I related to this story from that perspective.
他是一个非常厉害的，他刚刚没有说厉害啦，我自己加的。他踢那个美式足球非常的厉害。
So the title of the devotional was, Are You Unreasonably Committed? And the story was, we all appreciate what God has done for us, but how committed are we to doing everything we can from Him?
他刚刚看到的这个书里面看到，就跟他这个 soccer 的踢足球有关，所以它里面就是在说，我们都知道，上帝有赐给我们礼物，但是我们要怎么来回报他呢
？For soccer, it only takes a couple practices a week to be a decent player. The game is simple to understand, but in order to be very good at soccer or at anything else, you have to invest a whole lot of time and effort.
他说你要会踢美式足球，你1个礼拜只要练几个小时你就会了。可是如果你要成为非常非常厉害的选手的话，你要花很多很多的时间。
And this is just because winning or excellence in general is not normal. It is not the normal state of affairs for us. We have to climb and we have to push to try to reach that kind of state.
对，你如果想要赢，你当然要多练习。
So what the lesson was is it said relating that from sports back to our Christian life. It's not hard to be an average Christian. But if we want to really do special things for God, if we want to know Him better, and we want Him to be able to really use us specially, then we have to be more committed than the average Christian.
他读到那个书呢，就是在讲这个有关，就像我们当基督徒啊，我们如果要当一个普通的基督徒是非常容易的，但是我们要怎么当一个非常尽心尽力，真的是很好的基督徒，那不是那么容易的。
And the Lord showed me a verse in the Bible, Matthew 5:16, which He said was to be the vision for my life, the purpose for my life.
圣经里面马太福音第5章16节有说到
which says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven."
你们的光也该照在人的面前，让他们看见你们的好行为，来颂赞你们在天上的父亲。
So, in this sense, I came to understand Christianity as both a very personal thing between me and God, but also it being important the way I live in front of other people. Because that verse says that I'm supposed to let my light shine before men so that they can see just by looking.
所以呢，作为一个基督徒，你不但是要跟上帝有好的关系，但是你的行为也要让人家能看到你是一个好的基督徒。
So, in that sense, my prayer and the thing that I started to pursue was I want someone to be able to tell that I am different.
所以他自己对自己的祷告，就是他跟上帝祷告说：“我要成为一个人家能够看出我是一个不同的人。”
And in order for that to really be effective, I realized that I needed to be, in order to fulfill that calling, I needed to be out with other unsaved people and not just around Christian friends all the time, which was what a lot of my Christian friends were doing.
所以呢，要怎么样才能够这样子？就是当然是要去跟不是基督徒的人在一起，而不是都一直跟基督徒的朋友在一起。
And in athletics in general in America, a lot of the players are either not Christians or they are Christians secretly because it is uncool to admit that you are a believer in Christ in that environment.
OK， 在美国运动选手啦，他们是大部分的人都不是基督徒，要不然他们就是秘密的基督徒。因为你如果让人家知道你是基督徒，这个就不太酷了。
So I decided that rather than be one of those secret Christians or like some of my other friends who just didn't participate in those activities, I should keep doing what God had given me a gift to do and use that and view that as a mission field to be a witness to those boys.
所以他选择要去做一个不是秘密的基督徒，而是一个光明的基督徒，所以让人家能够看到他所做的。
But that is very hard because whoever you are around most will influence you most. So since I was spending most of my time with non-Christian people, I had to be very strong in order not to take on their same habits.
但是这不容易，因为跟谁在一起久了，你就会越来越像他们。那哇，好长，我想一下。意思就是他。你知道打球的人，他们都会有一些坏习惯。那我们跟他们好的时候，有的时候我们要怎么自己不要跟他们那样做很难，所以他一直在这样子的做。
So in order to do that, which is something that I still, to be honest, struggle with, but I realized that I needed to recommit myself even more to spending time with the Lord, to be strong enough to endure in that environment.
对，他到现在还都一直在，因为他一直在打球，所以他一直在这个环境中，还一直在有这些诱惑或者是什么。可是他一直在提醒自己，要更加的与上帝建立更亲密的关系。
In Ephesians 3:19, it says that God's will for us is to be filled with all of the fullness of Himself.
那个以弗所书呢说，以弗所书第3章说19节，愿你们能体会基督那超越知识所能领悟的爱，好使你们能完全为上帝的完全所充满。
And in other places in the Bible, it describes us as vessels. So the way I understood what I'm supposed to be is I need to fill myself up so that I can then give out to them. But in order to keep doing that, I have to keep going back and filling myself up again.
对，所以他为了能够那样要继续做，一定就是要跟上帝一直有充满好的关系，然后他才能够做出来。
And I'm a student and an athlete on top of that, so I'm very busy, as I know all students here are, and many people are working, so time is short, and that's not an easy thing to do or something that just happens naturally.
OK， 他说 这种要花时间的，可是他跟大家一样都很忙，他是学生又要运动，他每天都要上课诶，从早很早，然后上好多个小时，又要念书还有很多事情要做。
But it is the most important thing that we can possibly do, because this is what we are called to do, is reach the world with the gospel. And we cannot effectively be lights if we ourselves are not filled with God from that type of time.
但是他说跟上帝亲近是最重要的事情，所以这件事情要放在第一，不要忘记做它。
And so sometimes I've learned that I have to sacrifice, but I've also seen that it is abundantly worth it. Give up time or other entertainments or pleasure.
人家可能要出去玩了，他就觉得他要牺牲掉那个，因为他觉得他要跟上帝相处的是比那个还要珍贵的。
So I just wanted to let you guys know that when you do commit to that, even though it is very hard, God rewards that richly, because I have come to know God so much better, and I've also been able to be used by God to lead Bible studies and to talk to my friends, and it's just a very moving and powerful thing.
所以他要鼓励大家，这个是非常的 rewarding， 就是上帝会好好的奖赏你们的，所以要继续跟上帝有非常亲密的关系。然后这样子，他觉得上帝让他能够在很多地方都在使用他。
So in whatever area you have your gifts, whether you're studying right now or most of you are probably working, in whatever area God has gifted you, view that as a mission field. You don't have to go elsewhere to be used by God. There are people right there that you already know who need to know that you are a Christian and need to know what God has done for you.
所以不管你是做什么行业你不要想说你一定要到哪一个国家你才能传福音，不是，就是在你现在在做的那个地方，就是你传福音的地方。
Jesus was a carpenter, and his calling, his purpose in life was to die on a cross. He grew up using hammer and nails. That was his profession, hammer and lumber and nails. And that was the exact same substance of his purpose and his calling in life for us.
OK， 耶稣是做什么的？大家知道吗？
这样。
对，而他生下来是要为我们而死，那所以那就是他的使命。那我们自己每一个人的使命又是什么？
Yeah. So my gifting, among other things, is to be an athlete. And I've learned that I don't have to reject that in order to be a witness for God. And actually, I have to embrace it in order to be a witness for God.
Yeah, 所以他自己的恩赐就是运动，所以他没有办法把这个 gift 推掉，而是要拥抱他这个恩赐，然后好好的来使用它。
And so keep doing what you're doing and allowing God to use you in that area, but just remember that you can't ever place that before God, because God has given that to you for a purpose.
Okay, can you say the whole?
Okay, yeah. Whatever you do is good as long as you keep it in perspective and you don't put it above God. For me, soccer is something I'm supposed to do for God, but it's never right for me to put my soccer time ahead of my time with God, ahead of my relationship with Him.
OK， 上帝赐给我们每一个人一个恩赐，每一个人一定都有，所以你要找出来你那个恩赐，然后当你在使用你的恩赐的时候，你要知道你的恩赐是不会高过上帝的，上帝还是要摆在第一个。